Hello and welcome to today's Crafts Are Us with Us session. I'm Michelle Brown, Creative Director from Picture to Page and Beyond, which is our scrapbooking, mixed media art and Papercrafts community. Now I'm so excited to be joining you here on Facebook Live. Of course, whether you're here live or whether you're watching a replay, make sure you say hi, let us know you're here. Now if you've got any questions, let me know as well and I'll do my very best to answer them. So today I hadn't got out a materials list. What I thought we could do was just craft together. So I hope you've had a chance to grab some things to play with, or if not, just grab a cup of tea and play along. Now what we're going to do today is a bit of art journaling. There's something that I need to get done as we approach the end of the month, so I thought that I would share my process with you. So let's pop over and get started. So what we're going to do today is add some colour into my journal. Now, when people get started in journaling, it can be a bit confusing because there's so many different types of journaling. We can do writing, we can do art journaling, we can do a combination of both. This book is my daily diary. So for about the last 5 or 6 years, I've created a book where every day I go through and just write a little comment about the day, whether it's what I was up to. And my challenge, of course, is to try and keep this as different as possible. So here I've done quite an orange background with stencils. Here I've done a very blue background. Here I've done some bright pinks and some fluoro. That was March, March. And then April, I had some gel print stickers down and added a little bit of ink in. And May, I had it nice and green. So today, as we get ready for June, I thought that we would just do a few things together. And like I said, whether you're playing along or just watching or doing something else, that is fine too. So just go through a little bit of what I've got to do. So excellent. Vel's got a cup of tea. Hi, Diana. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Sandra, Sue, Tammy. Fantastic that you can all be here with us today. So I'm going to go through sort of a bit of my art journaling process. And again, I've really enjoyed watching everyone else over the last few weeks. So I thought, well, let's just have a play. So this is a journal that I made myself. We actually do this class at Mixed Media Art Handmade Art Journal. It's made with watercoloured paper, A4 folded in half to make an A5 journal. And then it's got 3 segments that are put together. So what I've done here is taped the spine and put a little bit of gesso down yesterday so that it would be ready to go, because I wanted to do a bit more with paints today, and I find that that's what's needed. But what I wanted to do first was add a little bit of ephemera. So I've grabbed my favourite gel medium. I've grabbed a nice big brush. I think they're commonly known sort of as a chippy brush. And I'm going to put just a tiny bit of ephemera down just to give us some interest to get started with. So I've got some lovely sheet music here. So I'm going to just tear it up. Now this is music that wouldn't have been used for anything else, so it's all fine. And what we're going to do is just get a little bit of gel medium, add a little bit there, stick it down, paste over it, and then that gives that piece of paper equal amounts of gel medium on both sides. It tends to reduce the wrinkling. And look, again, it's mixed media, so even if there is a little bit of wrinkling, that's fine. So, good old F sharp. So we can stick here a little bit across the middle. Now because I know I'm going to cover it up, I don't get too attached to these backgrounds. And I won't cut out all the little squares today because that would be quite boring. Hi Lee, hi Florina, great to have you here. So I'm collaging on some ephemera with some gel medium. So I've used a little bit of music. I've got a dictionary page here, so I can tear that up. Overlapping a little bit. We also want to make sure that we put some things over the edge, or else it looks like we're sort of, starting to cram everything around. And if you look at naturally repeating patterns on things that have been designed, you'll see that they quite often will be over the edge as well. So we can stick that on there. And then I've got some of my beautiful Marlene collage papers. These are really nice, lightweight. So there's a few different ones here. So I could cut shapes out of what I've done previously, but again, while we're tearing, we might as well keep going. Hopefully that's not too loud. There we go. And just add a little bit of interest. Like we said, we know we're going to cover over it. Oops. And what we're doing is getting quite a thin layer of gel medium so that we know that it won't take too much to dry. Because no one wants to watch me use a heat gun. Okay, so where else? So I really don't have a plan. You know, some people say, do we need a plan when we get started? No. And look, if you're a card maker and not really an art journal, I suggest that you get a piece of A4 paper and just do this same process, and you could then cut it up for card backgrounds. So it will give you just a very similar effect. There we go. And the great thing about this matte medium is that it's gel medium is that it's matte, so it won't turn glossy once it's dry. We know it'll give us a nice finish. So do I need any more? I've got three. I probably need just a little bit more dictionary, so we've got 3 of each. Wendy says she can't tear up sheet music. Look, I understand. I've played piano and I also play saxophone. I've got a whole heap of music that I wouldn't be able to tear up, but this was something that someone gave me, so it's been okay. But yes, you can definitely use different ways of photographing them and then distressing them, photocopying them. Okay, so that's that matte medium done. Get that out of the way. Okay, and what we're going to do next is just give it a little bit of time to dry. So we'll get all that out of the way. Hi, Marion. No, I think it doesn't matter what you do with art journaling, you won't be alone. It is really hard to tear up books if you're not used to doing it. But again, if it's something that you weren't going to use anyway, or that was falling apart, or it was an old dictionary, then I think that it's okay to reuse it in this way. Of course, we would never tear up good books. Now I'm just tearing that little edge off. Okay, now we're going to add a little bit of colour. So I've got some Delusions Paints. And usually when I do this, I'm in a hurry. Because it's a daily diary, I know that I need to get it done before the end of the month. And quite often, if I'm into the next month and I don't have my diary ready to go, then I don't feel at all organised. So I'm just going to add a little bit of paint here and there. So this one is the crushed grape. You can actually see how translucent these new ones are. They're quite thin. That's okay. Now I'm not going to clean off my brush. I'm going to add a little bit of funky fuchsia. Just adding bits here and there. Again, not too thick because I know that they will take too long to dry otherwise. And I'm also, if you're a bit worried about colours and making mud, then if you stick to colours that are in a similar colour family, so either the warms or the cools, then you're in a much better position. And it just shows you just how a little paint goes such a long way. We want it to go right up to the edge, because I know when I do this and I've got my little squares, that edge becomes sort of quite a feature point. So we want to make sure that I've got all that covered. Okay, let's put in another colour. Might a little bit more paint there. Okay, so this is the rose quartz. So this being a lighter colour, probably apply a little bit more to this. And so you can see, really not planning, have really not no idea where I'm heading, but I have no expectations about what it's going to look like. I don't have a picture in my mind. I find that as soon as you do that, it makes art journaling really hard, because all you're going to do is disappoint yourself. So don't have too much of a plan. Just see where it goes. Fill up all those spaces. There we go. Now we've just got a basic layer of paint down, so we've got some ephemera, we've got a little bit of paint. Okay. Maybe I was a bit ambitious, maybe I should have brought my heat gun. Okay, so while I let that dry, what else we got? Wendy said, yeah, it's all good. Yes, because Wendy's husband is a musician as well. So of course there's music that you don't want to tear up, but sometimes you can find some older pieces. Marion said, just about to go and teach. Okay. Yes, you wouldn't want to be written on their manuscripts, but that's okay. Again, different purposes. You know, when we're doing music, we'd always just write on it with pencil. Excellent. Okay, so pretty colours. Now we want to add a little bit of a pattern. So I've got an art foamy. So these are foam-based stamps with some beautiful patterns going with circles, and darkroom door stamps. So I've got the large circles, I think these are called dots, and the small one as well. So that was the light paint. So what we might be able to do, again, really impatient and lazy when I do this. I don't tend to use a paint palette. Of course, when you use stencils, you want to use a really dry brush. So you can see there, it's just adding that little bit of feature over the darker colour with the lighter paint and then blending in there as well. So it's a good way to use all that paint that's in your brush. Like I said, you really don't want to do this with too much paint because all it will do is bleed. So the challenge is just to go slow and steady, which is not in my nature, but I am getting better at it as we go. So just tiny little features. Okay, if I wanted to add some darker colour, so I've got a little bit of the pink in there. So add a few different shapes. So it's good having stencils the same pattern in different sizes because then it helps make it more cohesive. So there we go, some big circles there. I really love this darkroom door stencil because it gives you, it has that bit of grunginess built into it. So you're not sort of trying to get that effect with your bubble wrap, which you can do, but it's just not going to quite look the same. There we go. So there's 3 patches. Oh, I think we might be able to get away with 5 on this one. And see how I'm coming right out over the edge and using just that half a circle and then turning it too, because these circles are actually quite ordered and I don't want it to look too put together. So there you go. You can really use all that last bit of paint there. Okay, that's looking good. Now, if we just wanted to get a little bit of a different feel by using the art foamy, what we can do, and how well is this going to go? I don't know. Nothing like having an audience to figure these things out, is it? So again, I could use a paint palette, I could use a brayer, I could use my gel plate, but we're just being a bit lazy, so I'm putting the crushed grape straight onto the art foamy, using my brush to move it around. And this one's almost needs a clean. So a bit of light area up here. There we go. And that's given us a really light little effect. And you just see that there. Do I want a little bit more? No, I don't know. I'm very good at going either too much or not enough. Yeah, Marion, get your stencils out. We've done some doodling with stencils. There's so many things you can do with them. So I've added a little bit more there. Worried that that's probably going to be a bit too much. But so you can use the stencils in so many ways, not just with inks, but with paints. So yeah, look, if I wanted a really good impression, I'd definitely use my gel print to get a much better even layer. So you can see that that is not all even, but again, that's all we're trying to achieve, is a bit of that. Okay, so is that enough? What does everyone think? I thought, wouldn't it be really cool if we did like a choose your own adventure? Yeah, Wendy, that's a really great foamy. It's just really versatile because again, it's got large dots, it's got smaller dots, you can use different sections of it. But yeah, wouldn't it be cool to choose your own adventure? I could say, okay, do I use this one or do I use that one? And then we could put something together. So I've got a little bit more paint there. I can see that that is going to take a little bit to dry. So I've got some of the Dina Wakley tissue paper, and this is one of the older lots that had some plain tissue in it. So what I'm going to do is just use it to bring some of that paint up that's a bit too much, and hopefully it won't make too much of a mess. Then just add a little bit of colour to that tissue. We can use it some other time. Oh, cool pattern. Little circly bits. So this was almost my job when I went to stamping group. Now, Southeastern Rubber Stampers, which was around for a long time, met like last Saturday of the month, and it was always my time to go and get my daily journal up and running. Oh, thanks, Tammy. Yeah, really purples. But like I said, I went greens last month that I hadn't done for a while, pastels, some pinks and greens there, very blue and orange there. Okay. So is that going to be enough? I think so. Maybe, since I've got a little bit of purple on it, you know, just what you'd normally do is give it a bit of an edge. We can do something similar. And then if we don't like it, we want to just sort of take a bit of it off. Got baby wipes. There is nothing like a paintbrush with a bit of just a dry bit on it. So a little bit there. There we go. And by using the same colours, that's the great thing about having the paints, is that you can just use them in so many different ways to get so many different finishes, and it just makes it look like a cohesive piece. Days of the week, trading card size. No, Marion, I need to do them smaller. So to fit 30 days in here, I do these 3 centimetres by 4 centimetres. So what I had originally done was just cut up various pieces of paper, but I got a lovely little diary that I wasn't going to use, so I've been cutting that up and sticking it on, so it makes it much easier to date it. So yeah, so not trading card size, just really small. So I just put in the basics, which might be that we had a Peter P. Craft Presents, or who I spoke with, or what we had for dinner, or whether we're watching MasterChef. So yeah, just those sorts of things. Now that is pretty much all dry as well, so that is good. Okay, let's get rid of the paints. Okay, so we've got our layer of gesso, we've got a little bit of ephemera, we've got some paints as a layer, and then we've got a few paints as a feature as well, using both the stencils and the art foamy. So what we're going to do next is some good old stamping. Okay, what did I bring for stamping? So I've got some lovely Dina Wakley stamps, and I've got a purple. Do I want to use a purple? Did I actually think of grabbing a black? Probably not. Actually, I do have a little black. I've got my Bubby black here. Or, I don't know. What do you think? I don't know if there's a little bit of orange growing through. So this is where I start thinking a little bit more about the composition as I sort of start narrowing it down. So what I might do is get out the colours that are talking to me. If you haven't thought about it, getting a grey ink pad's a really good option too. Sometimes you don't want the black sort of as dark. So if you want something lighter, the grey works really well as well. So when you say, oh, every colour, navy, aqua, black and green. Yeah, I could use anything, couldn't I? So like I said, this is where I start sort of narrowing it down a little bit, thinking, okay, it's mostly purple. Do I need a little bit of pop of contrast? So what, of course, I could then do is one of the new Delusions paints is the, word escapes me, fluoro. That would be the word. So what we can do perhaps is just get a tiny bit of that. They are very cute, aren't they? All the little bubby ones. And they're just a great way to have all of the colours, because sometimes you just need all the colours. Not all the time. So I will just put a little bit down here. And this is, can you see that, a really iridescent orange. Now if I find my little stencil again, let's just put a few little pops of orange on it. I'm not sure how it's going to go because it's really translucent. Okay, yep, that sort of works. So I'll try putting it. And again, remembering if you're doing 2 pages, you really want to get some elements that go across it to help tie it together. So that's 3. Still got a bit of paint. So 4. And that last bit of paint. Again, maybe stick it up over the edge. Oh, Diana, you just got the paints. Yeah, well, remember when we did that get to know your paint session? Go back and have a watch of that. Make some swatches, put it over some ephemera so you can get an idea of how translucent it is, because these ones are definitely more see-through than the original ones. So now I've added a bit extra, but that's okay. Okay, so now I've just added that little bit of orange, so that's giving me a bit of a direction as well. So we've got the purples, pinks, and now a little bit of orange, because pink and orange is always fun together. Okay, so some stamping. So I've got these. What else? the challenge, of course, is that after a while you get a whole heap of stamps that you don't necessarily sell anymore. So I don't know if we've got these in stock. I think Mixed Media Art still has these ones. But these are just really gorgeous ones. You are important to me, like sisters and hearts. Hearts is definitely what we need at the moment, isn't it? So get that onto a block. So these are cling mount foam mounted stamps that are already cut out. So let's see, what colours do we want? And I'm happy that that's pretty dry. See if I show, like, there's really nothing there that looks like it's wet. Because at this point you can get paint on your stamps, but then you want to make sure you wipe it straight off. That's why it's better using the stencils or the art foamies. Now if I go with this is Monarch Orange. Will this show? And again, who knows? And it really doesn't matter. We're just slowly adding in a few little layers. That looks like it's got some glitter on it. How in the world would that have happened? No glitter here. There we go. Oh, fantastic. Okay, I'm excited now. That's quite a solid ink. And it's archival, so I know once it's dry that if I decided to put more paint down, it wouldn't move. If you remember our masterclass on inks, the archivals are great because they come in colours, they're bright. Now again, we want to stamp over the edge to give it a bit of interest, and again I've probably still got enough ink there to put it there. Oh, I'm loving that. This is why we do it, folks, isn't it? It just gets to the point where you go, oh, this just looks so cool, let's keep going. Of course, knowing when to stop is always the challenge, but we're just showing something here. So I was setting up Robert saying, how long is your video going to go for? It's like, I don't know. How long will it take me? We will have to see. So we've got some stamping in there now. Now, perhaps let's go with that bigger heart as well. And I'm not going to put any words here. I'm not trying to create a focal point. So it's not an art journal layout because for those of you that just joined us, this is my daily diary. I've been doing this for about 6 years. And what I'm doing is just a background to put all these little squares on for each day. So I've been doing this for a while, and it's cool because now I can go back and see what I was doing this time last year or what we did for the kids' birthdays, because you think you're going to remember and you just don't. Well, now that Wendy mentioned teal, it's got me thinking teal. Do I just need a little bit of teal in it? Again, good thing about this is that I can go back if I need to. So, if I was going to pick a teal, no, that one's too grey. That one, see how I can see just this tiny little bit of teal peeking through? That's Blue Lagoon. That's Polished Jade. No, I think that's probably a bit too green, or something a little bit bluer. Or that's Vibrant Turquoise. Okay, is that going too far? Is that possible? But we could just add a few little bits like we did. Isn't it funny? Before, when I was looking at the orange, I saw the orange bits there and there. Now that I'm looking at the turquoise, I can see bluey bits there. I can see them there. Okay, we definitely need to add some turquoise. I do actually have a clean brush. But if I keep adding paint, I'm not going to be able to get it dry enough to do much else over the top. But that's okay. No one's in a hurry. Or if you are, just save it and come back and watch it again later. Oh, now what am I going to do with this? I could just paint, but usually when I do that, I'm not happy with the results. So let's just, again, go with the good old stencil. Yeah, the first one's sometimes a little bit blobby. Oh, not too bad. Okay, so this is, you get to the point where you start going, okay, maybe you're going too far, Michelle. But again, it's going to get covered up. So this is really a way to experiment, to look what I've done. Oh. Look over here, look over here, nothing to see. How often do we do that when we're demonstrating? Oops, and that was exactly what I was trying to achieve. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, maybe this is a bit solid. A little bit there. A little bit there. Ooh, pretty. So now I've sort of come up with a colour combination that I wouldn't really have thought of before. So I'm going to just get that cleaned up. Because as much as these books do get battered around a bit, I don't want to deliberately get paint everywhere. You know, sometimes, oh gosh, I've got it everywhere. Sometimes I would go back and put some spare paper between the pages, but usually I'm not too worried. Okay, all clean. Now, be careful where you put the white because that will seep into your work as well. Okay, gosh, back into the middle. Okay, how pretty. Okay, now we've got some teal. Do we want to try and do teal ink or are we asking for trouble? I reckon I might leave it. I think that paint's been enough and it's been quite solid, but we might go in with the grey. So this is the watering can. And this little Dina Wakley, so hearts, bit of a space there. There we go. Bit down there. Again, remembering because I'm going to cover it, I really do want to make sure I've got images off across the edge. You know, quite often you can tell someone who's just new in composition hasn't really thought about how do we take the image and not just have it crowded in the middle, but move it out as well. Adding one there, and I feel that we might just about be done on that layer. So we've got some gesso, some ephemera, some basic paint colours, some paint through stencils, and now just that little bit of stamping that gives it that little detail that stancing sort of doesn't really do. So what are we going to do next? Well, let's just move all these out of the way. Okay, get all the paints out of the way. Now, what do we want to do next? So there's probably only 2 more layers that I would tend to add before I start putting the squares on. The first one is adding just a little bit of mark making with my Scribble Sticks. So this is sort of a bit of a combination step. Oh, that's what I was going to do. Okay. So get out some markers. So I've got some Posca pens. That's what we do want to make sure it's dry before we start playing with those, because you will ruin your pens faster than you can say anything. I've got these fantastic Faber-Castell Pitt pens. They've got like the India ink in them. They're really cool. Oh my goodness, I've just chucked everything in here. Okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to do that first, or the other thing I quite often will do is just put a little bit of washi tape on as well. So what colours? I've got a whole heap of washi tape, surprise, surprise. This was from the Aldi when they had the craft stuff. This was from a collection of purples. Is that too much? Can it be too much? Who knows? Again, it's really easy to add just that little bit of colour, a bit of a feature. I like just tearing it and then really pushing it down. So again, once we're committing, so one piece on either side. This is sometimes where your odd numbers don't always work, because you can do 2 and it's sort of 1 on each side, it sort of works. So this one's a bit of pink with a bit of silver on it. And then just overlapping. And what else? Oh, this one's got a bit of orange on it. Maybe I'll use this one as well. Using all of Wendy's favourite colours. Yeah, colours are a funny one. Again, I wouldn't get too caught up in it. If you've got colours that you like to use, then just use them. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. And sometimes the harder you try and go away from what you would normally use, then the harder it is. Okay, so just that little bit of washi, sort of getting lost a bit, but that's okay. So Scribble Sticks, so these are water-soluble medium, so whether you've got, sorry, that's shining off there. So whether you've got gelatos or distressed crayons, or it really doesn't matter. I don't know, do we need some of this? What we might be able to do. It's always one of those things, you never really know if you need it until you've done it. So I've got a purple here, which is the blackberry, and this is the magenta, which is their pink. So we're just looking at this heart, and what I want to do is just perhaps give it a bit of shading. I've been doing a lot of faces lately. Okay, and just grabbing a wet paintbrush and just adding that little bit to blend it in. Now, I don't know whether you can see that. I'm not sure this will focus, but you can, actually the camera picks up a little bit better than in real life. So you can see I've stamped in grey, and then I've just put that little bit of purple around there, and activating it just gives it that little bit of depth because it's a bit of shadow. So again, we can do the same for the other hearts. Another one here. and then just activating. And this is why I usually end up with as many things in one hand as I can hold, wondering why I can't find anything. Okay, so I've put the darker purple on one side. I'm going to put the pink or the magenta on the other. Just a little bit of water. Again, mightn't have done much. So what else? So there's a little bit of space through here, so I might just do some mark making. Again, it doesn't matter because I know this is mostly going to get covered up. Okay. So it gives you just a chance to experiment. See what sort of works, what doesn't work, how much do the colours blend. Another thing is really cool to do is just to add a bit of a, again, accelerate that border. And just, so really don't need to get too fussy about it. Just adding a bit of there and there. Okay, now I'm not sure, so I might leave those there. Okay, and then use, like we said, so I've got the food ball pen, which is one of the ones that Dina Wakely likes. They do smudge a little bit, so you need to be a little bit careful. And then I've got Poscas. Now, one of these was sort of working better than the other. The white ones, I don't know if I want to use them yet, because I'm not sure if that's dry enough. Like I said, I've ruined enough. If you're worried about ruining your pens, then stick with your water-soluble media. So, okay, what else can we do? I'm pretty sure that that's dry. So I'm going to use my food ball pen. And again, just go over some of those marks. Just like we watched Danny do this week, is just see what we can do to highlight some bits. Adding in things like some small little dots. Or here to help integrate the washi tape, some little crosses. What else? So we've got circles, we can go and sort of follow the circles a little bit, nice and lightly. Just to help highlight that. Okay, now if you want to do some of our writing, now who was it? Neve was telling us what this writing was actually called. So like just pretend writing, but half the time my handwriting looks like that anyway. Okay, so it's starting to look like a bit of something. So what's that? About half an hour. So it is amazing how quickly you can throw these together. Now, if it was going to be just an art journal page, I would consider doing a bit more of a focal point. So either using a stamped image, either on here or on a piece of paper, or something like these die cuts by Art by Marlene, and just, picking an image. I've already used a whole heap. Using an image and then actually sticking that down and embedding that in as well. But we won't do that because I know that I'm going to cover most of it up. So we might just add a few more bits of things. Now, do we have any other questions? Anything else you think we need? So there we go, a few little lumps and bumps. And when you're again, wanting to do something but don't feel real creative, get out your sketchbook and just practice your little different doodly things. So whether they're circles or whether they're hearts or whether they're crosses, and just kind of practice getting that consistency in, because it really does help improve and make your handwork a bit steadier. So I might just add a little bit of white in. It's always hard to know because I never know what's going to get covered, but just a few little dots, and again a few little dots. What else? I don't know. I don't want to do too much drawing with the white because I find it's sometimes just a bit ambitious. Okay, but I'm liking dots, so let's just add a few through here. Cool. Okay, let's perhaps just put them off a little bit so it sort of keeps that pattern going. There we go. Now I'm going to let that sit, and then tomorrow I'll be able to come and put my little squares over it. Okay, so I hope that gives you a little bit of insight to the way that I tend to do my art journaling. We're going to have classes here at Mixed Media Art soon in Mount Waverley, so if you want to come along, pop over onto our website mixedmediaart.net and get onto the email list, and then we'll be showing you the basics of putting that journaling together, putting down the collage elements, putting some paint on, using stencils, using art foamies, using some feature pieces, creating a focal point, using words, and then again just using that little bit of and this is where you could just keep playing, just adding a little bit more. Maybe I could go in and shade around that with some purple just to give it a bit of depth, but again, I'm not looking for a focal point here, so that's not so much what I'm trying to do. So is there any more questions? Thanks, Wendy. Excellent. So I hope that's given you just some food for thought, at least some time to sit down and think about art if you're not actually getting anything done. I hope those that had a cup of tea have enjoyed it. And if you've got any questions, pop them in the comments below, or of course contact me through our website from picturetopageandbeyond.com.au or over at mixedmediaart.net, where you'll find a whole heap of these products. And like we said, we'll be doing classes soon in Mount Waverley as well. So I hope you have all had a lovely afternoon. I hope you're keeping out of that rain that looks like it's approaching, joining a bit of the sun. And this is Michelle signing off. I hope you have a crafty day.